The corner, the corner, the corner.
Hey, welcome. Come on into Cousin Ed's Corner. This podcast is where you'll find real, authentic conversation, organic conversation, unscripted, unfiltered conversation, like you're home with your cousin. It's all about life. It's about finance. It's about spirituality. It's about love and everything in between. I'm your host, Cousin Ed. I'm excited to bring you along on this journey. So sit back and listen in as we dive into a wide range of topics. I have some diverse guests coming on with an array of thoughts and opinions. My goal is to create a space all for us to connect and communicate. It's not really about me. It's about the community as a whole. Let's enjoy it. Let's sit back. Let's think about our past. Let's move into our future. It's about
the corner, the corner, the corner. So no matter how you cut it or slice it, we're all here together. I'm just here to give you a piece of my heart, my mind, my soul, and my mentals. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Cousin Ed's Corner. The corner, the corner, the corner.
Peace to the family, man. Welcome to Cousin Ed's Corner. It's your boy Destrian Wells from the Brethren Pod. I'm with one of my co-hosts, Mr. AJ Woodson from the Brethren Pod. Shout out to our co-host, Miss Lisa Brandon, HBCU Pats, Dr. John Loving, PhD CFP, Dr. Loving Money and You, Dr. Loving Consulting. Today, we're honored and privileged to be the special guest host of Cousin Ed's Corner. As always, as Cousin Ed says, we're in it together. And today, we're going to take some time and we're going to do something that we don't usually do. It's Thank God Friday. But today, we're going to thank God for you, Cousin Ed. Stay tuned for a special edition of Cousin Ed's Corner.
What's going on, fam? What's going on, fam? It's your boy, Cousin Ed. Yes, indeed, we're back with another one, Cousin Ed's Corner. Thank God for everything. It's something we do often over here, but right now, today is something special. I am traveling, and I asked my brethren, to go ahead and bless the show. Take over for me. Take the keys to the house. I gave him all of the gate codes and everything else, and he actually brought along another brethren of mine from the Brethren podcast pod. AJ Woodson and Destrian Wells are taking over the show today. So you ever heard a brief intro? I wanted to come on so you knew you was on the right show. But listen, if you ever get a chance, definitely go out and check out the Brethren podcast. I want to make sure I shout them out. But we want to thank God for not only today, we want to thank God for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thank God for just so much. I thank God for these guys. I thank God for the whole Brethren podcast, allowing them to come over and share their knowledge with us. So they asked me to listen to the show. I'm just going to put it out. So here you go. I appreciate each and every one of you. Love y'all. There's nothing you could do about it. Peace.
This is AJ Woodson of the Brethren Podcast, just stopping through Cousin Ed's Corner to say this episode, not the other ones, but this one has been brought to you by the Brethren Podcast. That's spelt like bread because we always talking about it and we always getting it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank God for everything Friday. This is a special edition hosted by a couple of members of the Brethren Podcast series. We just doing this to give our brother Cousin Ed a little reprieve and also give him his flowers. You definitely have to take time to give selfless people shine, because oftentimes selfish people are in the spotlight. So I got my fellow co-host and brother Destrian Wells with me. Both of us, like I said, are from the Brethren Podcast, but we are definitely here to just take over Cousin Ed's platform for one, but to do it in an honorable way to honor somebody who deserves it. So I'll start just by giving my first, like, how I met Cousin Ed in this through Destrian. So Destrian has a whole lot more backstory, but I met Cousin Ed through Destrian, we were all we worked through a couple of different business ventures together. And throughout all of those business dealings, which we weren't, the lead people on or anything by that nature, but we were all uh, camaraderized into this and created this brotherhood by proximity. And throughout it all, Cousin Ed has been and always will be one of those people who was consistent throughout everything. And still to this day, and for a long time, because none of us live in the same places, it was just a lot of virtual interaction. Obviously we met during COVID, so it was a lot of virtual interaction, and it's easy for people to kind of put on airs when we in this digital space. So I was refreshed when I finally did meet Cousin Ed in person, and the airs that he put on was the same thing that he brought to the table in the real world. And like I said, he's a consistent brother and has been continuously been about his business and the business of helping others. And much like myself and Destrian and everybody that's involved with us, he fit right into the ecosystem that we have created. And so that's definitely one of the reasons why I'm honored to be able to just take a little bit of time to give Cousin Ed his flowers. But DJ, I'm gonna throw it to you. How did you meet Cousin Ed, or your first memory?
Man, it's crazy, man. Like you said, if we think back, you look back over the course of the past, at this point, between 3 and 5 years, the world has vastly changed. And we talk a lot about the human element and what that means to us and being able to directly engage with people. Some people have an aura and an energy about themselves that you can see right through any BS up front and any type of uncertainty or things that might linger or kind of just hover in the background. But similar as we've had some business ventures going on over the course of the past 3 to 5 years. Some have yielded great results, some have been great opportunities to learn. But I met Cousin Ed in one of those opportunities of learning where most people were disgruntled. Most people were very upset about an opportunity that looked very promising going left. And when I spoke to him about it, I was expecting to hear, similar things, and rightfully so. There was a lot of vitriol involved with many of the conversations I had prior to him. But he looked at it as an opportunity to learn, grow, and develop something for a community of people that had a shared vision. And his comments to me was, if we can take this fuel that we currently have today around the disappointment that we have, who do we identify to lead through this vitriol and this turmoil? And why wouldn't it be us to help do things like that for these people? Because I truly care about them. And to your point, to hear that from somebody is like, okay, that's cool, because those are the things that you and I, Doc, and Alicia talk about a lot on our show. But then to meet a person that's encouraging you about all the things that you're doing, always has a positive word about what you're doing. It doesn't feel like you really ever met them for the first time. It feels like you've known them for forever, right? They've been a missing piece of the puzzle that was supposed to help complete who you were, right? And so throughout our conversations, man, we found so many things that we were like-minded on, but we also found things that we were very different. And to be able to be challenged in a constructive way by another Black man was a beautiful thing for a person, like myself, because I'm always looking to improve, but sometimes you don't know where to go. You can always turn to Cousin Ed for that. And I think he was appropriately named that because he definitely feels like everybody's cousin. I think as he gets a little bit older, he'll probably be Unc Ed soon. Like, he'll be like Shannon Sharp. He'll become a national treasure of some sorts. But the biggest thing for me, man, is the fact that I think you brought up this word, his consistency, with all the various things that he has going on. Like, and if we were to take a step back, you're talking about a guy that's a dedicated family person, top to bottom, from matriarch, patriarch on down. But then you look at how actively he's involved with his kids, the AAU circuit, how many lives he's touched, and even outside of that, going back into the communities, doing like redevelopment and investment. So it's rare that you see a person that everything that they say they're about, they're actually doing it in some way. And it may not be this thing that has broken wide open yet, but man, the net that he cast and the impact that he's having, I would just want that brother to know. And I know this is going to embarrass him a little bit, but to the listeners of Cousin Ed Corner, and for all the folks that follow us on the Brethren Pod, you know, we wouldn't say this if we really didn't mean it, because we don't give this up for people like that. And I think that we definitely need to big up people like that, to give them the encouragement to keep going. This week, you know, he's traveling, he's doing some things. I know he'll probably plug a few shows, but, you know, for us, I count it an honor, you know, for him to say, hey man, I'll give my platform over to you. Can you just cover this Friday for me? Sure, we're right here on Friday, but we're going to embarrass you a little bit, bro. You deserve some flowers. You've been doing an amazing job. You continue to do it. And so again, I don't feel like I ever met you for the first time. I feel like I met a distant family member that, you know, we'd always spoken, but never met in person. And to your point, AJ, it was the same. We met in Atlanta together. We came out. The energy was the same. The vibe was the same. Nothing different. Same person every day. Good day, bad day. Same person. Always willing to check on you. Always willing to give. And more importantly, being able to be authentically concerned and really just check in on people. And I've never seen a brother more committed and being about the community of people that he's involved in. I call this man a center of influence, because everybody that touches him, there's some influence that comes from it. And I would say 10 out of 10 is positive.
I'm gonna definitely back up everything that you say, and I agree with it. You didn't miss a thing. Excuse me. But when we're talking about his consistency, one of the things that really align for us is something that Doc always says. Like Doc's one of his I don't want to call it a catchphrase, but it's, you know, it's like a mantra. Tagline, mantra. His tagline, his signature tagline, is people are more important than things, and that's one of those things that Cousin Ed definitely exudes. But talk a little bit about, you know, just his philosophy and his mindset, because you've already mentioned how it truly is something that attracts people to him. But just talk about that a little bit.
Man, you know, I would even have to bag up a little bit further here. You know, I've been super fortunate to not only get to know him and his, you know, his immediate family, but in doing so, getting to know where I feel like he sees his heroes at. A lot of us place great emphasis on, you know, public figures, and that's great. That's fine. Sometimes we need those aspirational things. But I think it's more important to become the aspirational thing yourself, and to be able to see that aspirational thing very close to you. And I think he saw that in his father. And, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't say, you know, that his father has played, in my opinion, an integral part in his life, being a person that was willing to take on risk, to be different, to dare to be different, to be an example of what I would call it a leading man is supposed to be, while also being able to star in a supporting cast, because I think we have to be able to do both. And when I think about the people over things, I see him do both of those things, right? I watch him in some aspects be a leading man where he's out front in terms of the podcast. And quite frankly, you know, some of the advice that we got along the way came from him, because he had been doing it for 10 or 15 years prior to. And then he said to us, it's like, you know, I'm really happy to see you guys doing this. Maybe I'll start sharing information again. And thank God he did, because, you know, that's a library just sitting there, not being read, not being heard, and not being used. And so, you know, that was another thing that I thought about with him. But when you sum up the parts, man, and you look at the people are more important than things aspect, I think he exudes that by truly, 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 he's also a girl dad. He has a son that he loves dearly, but he's a girl dad as well. I watch the way that he leans into women in business. And from a very pure standpoint, Sisters in Business being one of the platforms that he supports, watching the way that he pours a labor of love into that, champions women, tries to highlight and feature women. And he talks about the fact that no matter how you cut it or slice it, we're all in it together. And I think that's the communal aspect of his approach and the foundation of it. And I think that's why we have the correlation and kind of the symmetry between, the Brethren Pod and Cousin Ed's Corner, but more importantly, between us as individuals. We're looking at the whole human, and we're looking at how do we impact the human condition. And that is something that I think he focuses greatly on. And I think that he is probably one of the premier people in this space that does this. I mean, just because you don't have 1 million followers doesn't mean that you're not having the same type of impact. And again, for small business owners, for women that are looking to do things, having a voice and a platform for us, for minorities in business in general, thinking about how you go into real estate, he never keeps good information to himself. If I look up at any given point in time, if I haven't checked any form of messaging app that I have, I'm probably going to have 10 to 12 messages from Ed saying, hey, check this out. And it's always information sharing. I never get a negative message from him. I never get anything that's demeaning our community. I never get a message from him demeaning any gender, race, ethnicity of people at all. Everything that I get from him is uplifting and positive. So I know that when I click on something from Cousin Ed, it's going to be about the people more than anything else. And so, I think that's kind of why we align.
Most definitely, Cousin Ed is one of those people where he has qualities that if you don't necessarily have those qualities, he's definitely a good model to just to kind of, basically model yourself after. It's like Cousin Ed has families like we do. I would consider all of us at least decent family men. I'm not gonna say we're perfect, but who is? But
sure.
There's qualities that I see from Cousin Ed where I'm just like, you know what? It encourages me to continue, on that same path if I'm not already on it. Just like the way Cousin Ed's kids are much older than ours. They're in their teen years, and we got little ones, 5 and 3, and so it's just like, okay, I see the potential of where my relationship with my child is headed just because I see how Cousin Ed interacts with his daughter. He's always there for her. He never misses anything, any events and all of that. And it's just encouraging where it's like, okay, if I continue on my path right now, how I am in my daughter's life, I see where it can head because Cousin Ed exudes that positivity. So it's like you said, he's one of those people that I definitely watch in terms of his morals and his demeanor about just life in general and people. And like you said, you mentioned the word that he aligns with what we did, and you said something else that really made sense to me, where you said how it wasn't really like you met him for the first time, because the first time that we met in person, like you said, we had interacted on such a
maybe
a
year and a half, 2 years.
On such a real level too. That was the other thing. It wasn't a bunch of superficial conversation. Like you said, every time we talked, because it was always about making others around us better. It was never a selfish motive or memorandum when it came from him, and when it came to him, it was always what are we doing? And it's almost in the sense of he thought of himself last. Like, okay, let me make sure everybody around me straight, and then I'll worry about myself. Or even oftentimes, and we were in the same circles where it's like we don't want anything. We just want to make sure that the community is taken care of. And being able to have somebody else with that same mindset now makes good things happen in on purpose when that happens. It's the fight to make sure that things are right and people do right becomes a whole lot easier when you get people like Cousin Ed on your team and on your squad and on your side, where you just know, okay, it's more than just me right here fighting for it. He's right there with you, and the ideals align. And I think it's one of those things too where it's kind of hard to find, or it's just not pushed out there more, where, like you said, Cousin Ed is one of those people who understands how big small impact really is. Like, people think like, okay, I'm just helping, that one person, but that one person gets help, and now they go help somebody, and now they help somebody, and now they help somebody, and now you've got a net and a web of hundreds, if not thousands, of people that have been affected by your singular act, or your small, seemingly quote unquote small impact, just by putting people over things.
Yeah, it's the network effect. So you end up creating this compounding effect with the small things that you do. And the kids today call it going viral. I mean, like, the way that he moves, he goes viral in terms of impact. And that's ultimately what you want. You can't be everywhere and you can't do everything, but you get the right people around you. You love on them, you care about them, you invest, you plant seeds, which he's probably one of the best farmers I know in terms of planting, because he's going to plant, but he's going to double back and water it a little bit too. And so he doesn't just talk to you one time. He's going to follow up. He's going to make sure you're good. He's going to ask you if you're all right. Do you need help? If you don't take advantage of things like that, then that's on you. But one of the things that I've talked to him about, and I think that, as we're giving him the flowers, I want him to also take an opportunity for himself. When you're in servant leadership, there's a toll that you take, and you're maybe willing to bear that cross. But then there are people around you that also have to take, a hit or take a brunt of the sacrifice that you're making. And that doesn't always make your life comfortable. And I know that, on many occasions, because of his devotion and willingness to serve people, serve the community, that hasn't always been to the advantage of his immediate family, right? Because that's time away, that's time spent. Sometimes that might be financial support that's leaving the house and going elsewhere, where it's not to say that you're putting your family in strife, but it is to say that you could have more abundance if you chose to. But to see him be able to lead in such a way that his family also buys in to what he's doing and the mission that he feels as if he's on, it does my heart good to know that he's not alone in that. To have the family support is an important thing. So again, it would be lost on me if I didn't shout out his family for, number one, laying the foundation, but staying true to it when the full circle moment comes and you have to sacrifice as well. And so those are the things that I think kind of go unnoticed sometimes about people who are givers. Givers are going to give, and takers undoubtedly are going to take. And, I just want to make sure that during this time that we give and allow him to take a little bit of gratitude. And I would encourage anyone that's listening, go into the comments when you see this information out there, drop a nugget about, hey, here's how I met Ed, here's how I met Cousin Ed, here's something, good that has come from our affiliation or our relationship, and let him know that he's appreciated. Because again, I think back to when we were spending maybe between 5 and 6 hours a day on Zoom together doing what we were doing. Even those things, I think, prohibited him from being able to contribute in this space, to be a creative, to produce content, and get his thoughts out. He was more concerned about, during this time where everyone is locked in the house, what can I do to be a light to other people, as opposed to, it's time for me to blow up. That wasn't his concern. He was willing to be an active supporter, to win the Oscar for supporting, cast or whatever. He wasn't trying to be the leading man or what have you. But what is good about natural leaders, they emerge anyway. And I think, when you're chosen to lead, it's a difference between when you show up and say, I am the leader. And I think people choose to follow Ed because naturally, he's a leader, and his family supports that. And that's big, because if your family won't follow you, who else will? So, again, shout out to his family and shout out to him for building on the foundation that was provided, but more importantly, for them continuing to support the foundation that was built.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say ditto over everything you said. Cousin Ed, we definitely appreciate you for letting us take over your platform, and to your listeners, we apologize. This will probably be the longest episode of Cousin Ed's Corner, because I just remembered that Cousin Ed kind of keeps it short and sweet, between 15-20 minutes, and we probably running close to 30 minutes here. So we also appreciate you for listening to us ramble on and on about the good man that brings you Cousin Ed's Corner. So with that being said, the Brethren Podcast, on behalf of myself, AJ Woodson, Mr. Destrian Wells, and our other two co-hosts, Miss Alicia Brandon and Dr. Ajambo Love and PhD CFP, we appreciate you for listening, and we appreciate Cousin Ed, and y'all have a blessed Friday and an even better weekend.
Thank you for listening to Cousin Ed's Corner.